Good evening. I want to welcome you and call to order this meeting of the Floresville ISD Board of Trustees for this day, January 6, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. Hope everyone had a great holiday and thank you for being here tonight. 2025.
Yeah, that's hard to say.
It is. That's a lot of numbers there. Let the record show that there is a quorum of board members present. Myself, Stephen Shadrach, Mr. Craig Mutz, Ms. Liana Martinez, Mr. Marshall Fleer, Mr. Jason Sabota, Ms. Bonner Reed, and Dr. Joel Odom. Furthermore, let the record show that this meeting has been duly posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. Ms. Reed will now lead us in prayer, followed by Mr. Mutz leading the pledges.
Dear Heavenly Father, we want to thank you very much for having the ability and we have the quality of schools and teachers and students in our district and having this amazing school board. Please protect those that are getting ready for severe weather. Be with the hearts of the people of recently in New Orleans. Dear God, protect and guide our students for the rest of the year. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
I will now recite our FISD vision and mission statements. The FISD vision statement is character, knowledge, and confidence. Our mission statement is FISD is committed to the development of innovative, lifelong learners who possess character traits to achieve personal and professional success. Ms. Martinez will now recite our FISD goals.
The FISD goals are excellent student outcomes, superior workplace environment, exceptional customer service and community engagement, strategic resource management.
We will now do a round robin of our board recitation of the FISD core beliefs. Our FISD core beliefs are, in FISD, we believe all students feel safe and supported in a developmentally and academically challenging environment.
Families are welcome partners in their children's education.
Faculty and staff are compassionate, dedicated, adaptive individuals who are student-centered.
Campus leadership is fair, equitable, and clearly communicates and engages with stakeholders.
Superintendent and central administration lead with integrity, transparency, and clear communication to provide a well-resourced educational environment.
Trustees provide student-centered and fiscally responsible leadership in transparent and ethical support of all stakeholders.
Mr. Fleer will now recite our overview of good governance and code of ethics.
Each month, we highlight one of our good governance indicators and code of ethics that the FISD Board of Trustees follow to promote the best interest of the district as a whole. This month, for the code of ethics, we're highlighting commitment to service. I will focus my attention on fulfilling the board's responsibilities of goal setting, policy making, and evaluation. I will diligently prepare for and attend board meetings. I will avoid personal involvement in activities the board has delegated to the superintendent. I will seek continuing education that will enhance my ability to fulfill my duties effectively. Our good governance indicator for this month is mission, vision, and belief, and comprehensive statement of goals are developed and in place for the district.
Thank you all. We now have some recognitions for our Floresville ISD students and the Teacher of the Month. Dr. Gilstrap, I'll have to pass it over to you, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Shotrock and board members. I'd like to call up from North Elementary, Ms. Heather Brooks, and from Early Childhood Center, Ms. Wagner, if she can come up. And we're going to recognize from North Elementary 2 of our Students of the Month and our Teacher of the Month, followed by our Teacher of the Month from our Early Childhood Center.
Good evening, school board, President Shadrach and Dr. Gilstrap. Happy New Year. I'm honored to be here tonight to recognize our January Teacher of the Month and Students of the Month. FNE would like to recognize our 4th grade teacher, Deidre Chelik, as our Teacher of the Month. She has taught all 19 years of education in 4th grade in Floresville ISD. Many of those years she served as grade level lead, and all but one was just in math and science. Many consider her classroom a rite of passage, and it's hard to think of 4th grade or even math instruction at FNE without thinking of Ms. Chelik. As a Floresville resident, she's an active part of the community, attends various events with her husband, 7th grader, senior, and FHS graduate. She's a member of Sacred Heart and Blessed Sacrament Churches, serves on the Baked Food Shows Committee for the Wilson County Junior Livestock Show, and volunteers through FFA Booster Club. She really is fully immersed in our school district as a teacher, a parent, and a community member. At school, Ms. Chelik's classroom is a well-oiled machine where work is never done. She purposely plans a variety of activities and assignments that are personalized to each student to help them fill the gaps and enrich their learning. She also implements student data trackers and helps them set their own goals. In fact, that's her favorite thing about teaching, is helping kids grow and take ownership of their own learning. One of her fellow math teachers said, Deidre consistently goes above and beyond to ensure our 4th grade team and students are organized and supported. She is dedicated to every aspect of this job and is a constant inspiration for her team. To work alongside of her is truly a blessing. Ms. Chelik chose to become a teacher because she wanted to make a difference. She's known for setting high expectations and providing opportunities for productive struggle in her classroom. Each day, she not only inspires students to work harder, but also leaves an impact on her peers. Another colleague said, Deidre's dedication and hard work are inspiring to me as her partner teacher, and because of this, she is truly deserving of this recognition. She builds meaningful relationships with her students, making every child feel valued and supported. As a teammate, she is collaborative and encouraging and is always willing to lend a hand for the better of the entire grade level. I only wish I was half as organized as Deidre. She pays close attention to detail and sets a high standard for excellence in teaching. She has a passion for teaching and truly cares about her students and coworkers. I could not have handpicked a better teacher to represent FNE. So I happily present to you Ms. Deidre Chelik, January Teacher of the Month. FNE would also like to recognize Camila Trevino as the first Student of the Month. She is joined tonight by her parents, Marisol and Humberto Trevino. And I have to say, Camila is a really neat kid. She enjoys the lost arts of crocheting and roller skating. In her spare time, she enjoys practicing math problems, creating cricket crafts, watching old movies, and playing with her hamster. At school, Camila participates in engineering club and will successfully complete the dual language program this year. Her favorite subject is math, but also enjoys having Miss Turner as her Spanish language arts teacher. She's excited about the new Caring Lab at rotation class at FNE this year, which is not surprising because her friends describe her as, quote, the sweetest girl ever. In fact, in talking with teachers and peers, the theme of caring for others is ever present with Camila. Teachers describe her as, quote, the true embodiment of what it means to capture kids' hearts because she cares so much for others. She takes pride in her work and wants to see everyone succeed. She stands out as a truly bilingual student who performs equally high in English and Spanish. Her teachers say she's always ready to help her classmates and gets along with everyone. But after having the same students in her class since kindergarten, she's really looking forward to meeting some new people at middle school and hoping to make some new friends. But as a high achiever who cares for others, Camila naturally wants to study hard and learn a lot so she can one day become a doctor. FNE is proud to congratulate Camila as FISD Student of the Month. FNE would also like to recognize Luke Svoboda as the second Student of the Month. He is joined tonight by his parents Jason and Stephanie. Luke is known at FNE for being, quote, just a respectable young gentleman. He's always going to hold the door open for ladies and tell them good morning, give you a hug goodbye. When asked to describe him, his teacher just said, well, he's perfect. And that he always has his hand raised, and he's always listening, and he always has the right answer. She said he's the first to volunteer if anyone needs any help because, quote, he is such a sweetheart. Another teacher describes Luke as a very thoughtful, caring young man who puts forth his best effort regularly. He's a role model for his classmates and makes the teacher's job easier. Outside of school, Luke enjoys the outdoors. As a member of Sunnyside 4-H, he participates in baking and rifle. He likes to hunt, play with pets, go to the farm, and go to school. He admits his favorite thing about school is lunch, but also enjoys learning math with Miss Estrada. He regularly performs at high levels and participates in the Gifted and Talented program. And he's looking forward to middle school because he's, quote, heard that the kids have a lot more freedom up there. After Luke graduates from Floresville, he hopes to go to college and learn about coding and designing and possibly becoming a program engineer. F&E would like to celebrate Luke Svoboda as an FISD Student of the Month.
Go ahead, Ms. Wagner, if you want to recognize your Teacher of the Month.
Well, my Teacher of the Month is in the audience, so I need her to come up.
Right there in the center.
Well, good evening, President Shadrach, Dr. Gilstrap, and board members. I have the privilege once again to honor our Teacher of the Month, who is Miss Jennifer Castillo. So Ms. Castillo currently teaches our youngest of the young. She's got the youngest 3-year-olds on the campus, along with her assistant, Miss Fox. So my hat's off to her. If you ever are wanting to know what happens in that classroom, go into her room. It's amazing. I'm always amazed at what she can do with those babies. Ms. Castillo was born and raised in Laredo, Texas, and after graduating from high school, she attended Texas A&M International University, where she graduated with honors and received a bachelor's degree in interdisciplinary studies in early childhood education. She is completing her 18th year of education. She's taught 3rd grade, 4th grade math and science, and of course pre-K. Ms. Castillo's hope for the future is that she's able to impact every student in a positive, caring, and loving way. She wants her students to leave her classroom knowing that they are valued, and through hard work and dedication, they will be thinkers and problem solvers of the future. Ms. Castillo has 3 wonderful boys of her own, ages 21, 18, and 15. The boys mean the world to her, and in her free time, in case y'all didn't know this, she salsa dances, which really helps in the classroom, and she loves spending time with her fiance. I really enjoy walking into Ms. Castillo's classroom. You would be amazed at the activities she has her 3-year-olds working on. She's very creative. She has great centers, hands-on activities, super cool manipulatives, and she's always engaged with her littles. Didn't put this in here, but if you ever want to go and hear her read a story to her youngs, it's amazing what she puts into storytelling. She's teaching our kids what stories look like, what they sound like. She's always into it. She's just having so much fun with them. She's always laughing, and her colleagues always say that about her. It just doesn't matter what's going on, she has to laugh, and I say she's gonna laugh because if not, she'd cry. She's with 3-year-olds all day long. Everybody likes being around her. She's always in a good mood, and I'm so pleased that I had the opportunity to work with her since we started this campus a couple of years ago. And she truly is an early childhood educator. She's in the right spot, and I'm just pleased to honor you as the Teacher of the Month.
I want to commend all of you, the teachers and the students. It is math. I taught, but math was not my forte. And I wish I'd had a teacher like you. Then maybe I would have not been. If you get kids excited about math, that's awesome. And you need to know math in the future. And when you go beyond the 4th graders and give it an organization and support, and you dedicate that to your job, so that makes a true blessing when the kids can love math and love coming to a class, knowing you care about them. And it shows through when your co-workers and your students care, showing you're caring. In 19 years at 4th grade here in Floresville, that's commendable. And the classroom where you have personality learning for each one, where you see them not as a group, but individually is wonderful. And your reputation for high standards, and it'll carry on in the classroom. Camilla, you are, I love to crochet, so that got my ears perked up. And that is a good to have to know. It helps gets tension out. You like to also enjoy doing math problems as fun. And you have like old movies and like playing with your hamster. Being a theater major, I also like watching old movies. At school, you get excited about the new caring lab rotations at the school. And that capturing child's heart is good, and you give a prime example of what can be done. And your dual language, awesome. And you're going to go out, and that will help you further on in your education and in life. Engineering club, you have to be one smart cookie to do that. And I'm proud of you. And being a doctor is admirable. Thank you. Luke. Being a respectful and a young gentleman, that you do these things, that is commendable, because most people rush through the, you were taught manners, so that's a very good thing. And when that shows up, that being a young gentleman, and take that as a compliment, because a lot of times this age, they're not, they're too busy playing or doing other things. And I like the comment, he likes to help because he's a sweetheart. The rifle team is a very time-consuming, it takes extra practice, you just don't go out and shoot. And of course, baking, that's something you can learn. Gifted and talented program, that's again, extra work. And it shows how you do take yourself seriously and you study seriously. And you want to be an engineer, that's fabulous. And with your, if you, all the courses and just keep studying. I'm very proud of you. I'm proud of all the teacher and the students. All right, Miss Castillo, 3-year-olds, Lord have mercy. I read to them. I came and read and I went, oh Lordy. I asked a question and every single one raised their hands and I went, oh. And that makes, I taught high school and some middle school and I went, oh. You are blessed, the patience of Job, of having to teach 3-year-olds. And early childhood program that we have here in Floresville is wonderful. They get the basis. A lot of times, I don't know what happens, sometimes these kids don't learn that. They're too busy. And now, I've got my 1-year-old knows how to work a phone and I'm going, oh, mercy. Because she got mad at me when I turned it off. The hope and the positiveness that you show in caring. And I have 4 boys, so I know what you're going through at home. And 1 girl, so it's a lot. And the salsa dancing is, that would probably keep you going. The kids probably love it, and they can get excited about a teacher's not someone stiff, So many times when I grew up, it was, So you add that extra spice, and it shows that you're always engaging with your students and the laughing. Is awesome. And I thank you for working very much with these little ones.
Come on up and let's take a picture.
I don't have to stand on my toes.
Yes, sir.
To your right. To your right.
That's right. Right there, there we go.
Okay, perfect. Ready? 1, 2. One more. 1, 2.
All right, parents, y'all can come on up. Get in the middle if you need to. All right. Thank you very much. All right. Ms. Castillo.
Thank you so much.
So proud of you, man.
Congratulations. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Just keep on going. Congratulations. So,
Jason, give him a hug.
congratulations.
Thank you. And I'm like kids told.
All right, next we will have our FFA state qualifiers. Mr. Jazambik and Ms. Pointer, will you please come forward?
Good evening. Want to thank Dr. Gilstrap, Mr. Schroller, Dr. Wade, and all the other members of the administration who supported us throughout the year. We are very honored to be here tonight and be able to showcase some of our students. Those of you who have been around for a while, you know that we've got a very good tradition, a very strong tradition of taking teams to the state leadership contest every year. This is the 14th year in a row that we've taken at least one team to state contest, and we're very proud of this fact because there's not a lot of schools out there in the state of Texas that can say that. I'm here to introduce the agriculture advocacy team. We've got Cambry Angle, Nicole File, Nicole Lee, and James Marlowe. These guys are given the task of giving a presentation where they advocate for agriculture. It's really open, and we really get to pick and choose what we want to do. And so therefore, this year we kind of wrote a script that was based upon the future of agriculture and how our population is expected to grow to nearly 10 billion in the next 25 to 30 years, and how we're going to have to supply food and clothing for all these people. And these guys really took a great script and knocked it out of the park. We were second in district, a little disappointed on that day, but it made us eligible for the area contest. We were second in area, and then that qualified us for the state contest. At the state contest, there's 2 rounds. In the first round, in the semifinal round, we were third, and then in the final round, we ended up second. The neat thing about the final round is we actually were tied for first.
Wow.
We were placed second on a tiebreaker. But kind of heartbreaking there, but also a great accomplishment. There were over 400 teams in the state this year, and we're second best.
So I have the pleasure of introducing to y'all our radio broadcasting team. The team consisted of Hallie Orth, Mackenzie Seasongood, I have to make sure I say the right Mackenzie because I have more than one Mackenzie, and Matthew Michigamba. And the radio team is really cool because they get to give a presentation about anything related to agriculture. This year we talked about lab-grown meat, which is a really cool and interesting topic if you don't know a lot about it. It's really interesting. And, you know, I was gone for the majority of the first semester, and these kids put in a lot of effort and a lot of dedication into getting to where they were as a team. And so I wrote down what I was going to say so I didn't mess it up. So this team placed second in the Guadalupe Valley District, and then we actually were placed back-to-back area champs. So we were area champions last year. We got the title once again. And then we went on to state, and we were placed second in our final heat round, and then we ended up placing 6th overall. We tied for 5th, lost a tiebreaker. And the kids can tell you, the higher up you get in the state contest, the bigger banner you get. So advocacy got a blanket and we got the pillow sham to go with it. That's what I always say. This is the 4th time this year to qualify the radio team for the state contest, but this is the first time ever that the radio team has made the top 10 in the state. There were actually, just to put in perspective, 839 radio teams across the whole state. That's the 2nd largest, only to the quiz kids, the number of people that take the quiz team. And, you know, we're just really proud of them. I have a lot more written down, but we're really proud of these kids, and we're really happy that these kids chose to invest their time and energy into our organization. And I'm just really eager and excited to see what the future holds for these kids, and we're glad that they're passionate about agriculture like we are. So.
Just like to say on behalf of the board, congratulations. And very proud of y'all for getting into agriculture and pushing it a step further, because there's not enough of that going around, especially this day and age. And as we were talking about the numbers and the food, where we're going to be in so many years, and y'all are still, you know, going that route. I'm very proud of y'all for doing that. And the time y'all put in, I don't sit there with y'all like your parents do, but I'm sure, you know, y'all are got good grades, everything else, and y'all are all in FFA and doing all this in ag, and to go all the way to state. And whether you got a blanket or a pillow, they go well together. So very, very proud of y'all. Each and every one of y'all did a great job. So thank y'all and congratulations.
All back.
I'll hold my phone.
Perfect. Okay, ready? 1, 2. 1 minute. 1, 2.
All right, come on up. Proud to go.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you,
If you don't
sir.
mind shaking your hand.
Yes, of course.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So proud of you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you so much. Second place.
Point one of the difference, but we don't issue yours for tiebreaker. That's what it was.
Now we'll be recognizing our football THSCA All-State Academic Players. Coach Martinez will present that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shawrock and the Board of Trustees. I appreciate you allowing us this opportunity. It's with great pride and honor that I recognize 5 of our seniors that have been selected to the Texas High School Coaches Association All-Academic Team. One of the things that's most impressive about this award is that you have to maintain a 92 average or above for your entire high school career, and these guys have done that and excelled at that. I think it speaks to who they are as student athletes, and they represent our community and our program in the right way. Not only that, they're great young men, team first guys that we count on in a lot of different areas that they don't always get the spotlight or get all the attention. But these guys show up every day. These are the ones that you can count on day in and day out to do whatever you ask them to do. So I'm very proud of them, and I couldn't be more honored to present this to them today because they've truly earned it, and who they are as a student and they are young men, and I'm excited to see what the future holds for them. Starting with Lee Cruz, honorable mention. Gray Tiger Ramirez, honorable mention. CT Caden Thompson, second team. Brian Bradstreet, second team. And first team, all academic, all state, Tyler Moots.
First of all, guys, I spent a lot of time with you this year, and I'm so proud of you. And as a board, we're very proud of your accomplishments. You know, playing football and athletics is one thing, but exceeding in the classroom is even better, because that's going to put you much further ahead in life than athletics. Because honestly, right, you guys are good in athletics, but you're also better in the classroom, and I like that. And I truly appreciate Coach Martinez and his staff for, first of all, teaching a new culture, right? This is a new thing this year, right? New culture. You guys stood with that, and you went through that, the hard work and the respect that he taught you guys, and discipline. That plays a huge role in your great accomplishment in the classroom. And so I'm thankful for that. I can't help to think that the culture Coach Martinez and your coaching staff did, that you built within Floresville Athletics this year, will continue to inspire young men and women to greater accomplishments, not just on the field of play, but in the classroom as well. Tyler, Ryan, Caden, Lee, Ray, I love you guys, and again, congratulations. Go Tigers.
Yeah, okay. Okay, I'll get on my toes.
Just like between the coaches.
Yep.
3. There you go. Okay. Ready? 1, 2. One more. 1, 2.
Anybody else? Come on now.
That's
Of course.
Thank you.
Sorry.
All right, if you don't mind shaking their hand, congratulations.
There you go.
Thank you.
Let's go this way.
Y'all need to hug.
And I know you have to bring them up.
All right, next we'll have our Floresville Middle School Band Directors. We'll pass it over to Mr. Cathy, but Dr. Gilstrap would like to say a couple.
So before Mr. Cathy comes up and introduces our middle school band, this recognition is for last year. They competed and we got the results during the summer. And so we always recognize students whenever they reach that state level, and this was one of those that reached the state level, but we just weren't in session whenever it happened, and so we've been kind of behind getting this recognition. But I want to turn it over to Mr. Cathy and let him introduce to our middle school band directors.
Thank you, Dr. Gilstrap, Mr. President, Board. So as Dr. Gilstrap said, this was something that Mr. V is going to explain to you, but one of the advantages of being a 4A school is we're able to join the ATSSB, which is the Association of Texas Small School Bands. And they do a thing called the OPS, which I will let him explain, which is not done in the 5As and 6As. And they did very well, so I'm actually just gonna, that's all I want to say. I know it's surprising, but I'm gonna turn it over to, actually I will say I feel a little bit like a proud parent, turning it over to Mr. V. He was of course a member of the Mighty Tiger Band. And this is Mr. Villafranco, who I'm sure you all know.
Good evening, y'all. Mr. Cathy kind of got me started, so I appreciate you. Thank you for that. Just to introduce our staff that all this involves, that'd be Judith Belmontis right over here, and Jacob Martin. He's our these are our middle school band director staff. And then Mr. Aaron Beaver is here from the high school, and Mr. Cathy, and they both teach beginner classes of these students that eventually came into our band and then earned this recognition. So to explain the OPS to you, OPS stands for Outstanding Performance Series, and it's basically a recording competition where bands throughout their competitive season are always recorded at their contests. And then after the competitive season is over and after the school year concludes, we submit those recordings to the Outstanding Performance Series through ATSSB, and then they are judged across all the other bands of the state. Much like marching band works, there's a region level where they take only 2 advancing bands for our march category and 3 advancing bands for a region category. So already, we have several bands in this region. In order to move on, you have to be in the top 3. The worst you can do is a bronze medalist. So I'm happy to report that in that first stage, we were the only band to have every single one of our recordings advance for the symphonic band and for the FMS Wind Ensemble, our varsity band. To advance to the area level, so we were the only one with 3 recordings each that were represented at the area level. Same thing there. So now when we're talking about area, we're talking about from basically San Antonio all the way south to the coast and all of those bands. You still have to be in your top 3 there. We both, the symphonic band and the wind ensemble, had 2 recordings each advance to the state level, and that was the first time a non-varsity band from Floresville Middle School ever advanced to the state level. So the question on everybody's mind is, how did they do? The symphonic band placed 13th in their concert category, and they placed 7th overall in the state of Texas in their march category. And the wind ensemble placed 4th in their concert category, and they placed 1st in the state in their march category. So these, I started doing a little bit of math because, you know, what's the point of a competition if you're not comparing yourselves, right? So we have the highest collective placements in the state of Texas for the Floresville Middle School band when we competed in this. And so every middle school who feeds a 4A high school or lower is eligible to submit recordings for this competition. So just to speak to our kids, it really does take a village. I think we have the best kids anywhere, but it's always nice to have the hardware to prove it. And when you have the most dedicated staff, the most supportive community, and an admin that believes in what we're doing, I think, you know, these outcomes are inevitable. So thank you all so much for
Well, on behalf of the board, congratulations and thank y'all. I mean, these kids, when y'all get them, are pretty raw. I mean, they, you know, that's, and for y'all to build the program and continue for them to trust, and y'all have the faith with them and they have trust y'all to make them what they are and go on to high school. Congratulations for a great job.
Thank you guys.
Awesome.
Appreciate you guys.
Can you make it over here for the picture real quick? Come on, Mr. Kathy. You as well. You're the ringleader.
I can take the picture.
I like.
No, you're in the
Yeah,
picture.
sit on it right there.
You got it?
The arm, lean up against there. You're good, sit there. You're good.
Right over left.
All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. More. 1, 2.
John's mom.
That's my mother, by the way.
Is very, very proud. First time ever it's happened.
Well, that's a good one.
That happened overnight.
Now I'm going to pass the meeting over to Dr. Gilstrap.
Board members across the state of Texas, in January we have School Board Appreciation Month, and so we want to take an opportunity tonight just to recognize you as members of our board for what you do and the time that you sacrifice. And this job goes unpaid. Some people don't realize that, but it is, as Dr. Odom likes to put it, he gets paid at graduation whenever he gets to stand up there and shake kids' hands and present diplomas. So it really is a pretty cool thing what we do as a school board, but also want you to know that the sacrifice that you make in time away from your family, the dedication to your community, to the district, to the students and staff, thank you very much on behalf of the superintendent and the staff. here at Floresville ISD. Our community thanks you as well. Like I said, it's something that you do 24 hours a day. School board members are never off work, whether you're up here at a meeting or if you're at the Little League fields or at HEB, somebody asks you a question about the school or something else, and you're never off duty. You are the face of the district as elected officials, and I just want to take an opportunity right now just to say thank you. We did have some things presented from our campuses and departments, so please don't forget to pick those up on the way out. We do also have a video that Ms. Blanca Martinez has put together, so if we want to show the video, movie time. Yeah.
School board members are important leaders who make decisions about our educational programs based on our community's needs, values, and expectations.
They evaluate challenges and resources to adopt priorities, goals, and policies in the best interest of the students, staff, and community.
In this School Board Appreciation Month, we want to say thank you, board members, for making a difference in our education.
Thank you for shaping the future of our district and community.
Thank you for ensuring a safe environment for us students and our wonderful staff.
Thank you for connecting our schools and community.
Thank you for providing us with opportunities to grow and reach the maximum of our potential.
Thank you, school board, for all your dedication.
Thank you for instilling hope for a better future.
So it's always good to hear straight from our students, and so Blanca, thank you for putting that together. As the students said, thank you for everything that you do. It does not go unseen. It doesn't go unappreciated. But we want to just take this time this month to say thank you for your dedication, for everything that you do. Thank you all very much. And we'll be putting the video out on social media coming up pretty quick, I believe. All right.
All right, Ms. Petrie, you brought me two public comments. Was there any other?
No, that's
Okay, let me read this real quick. The board encourages the comments about the district from the members of the public. Anyone who has signed up to speak in advance of the meeting in accordance with the board procedures may do so at this time. The board asks that each participant's comments pertain to the district's business and no longer than 2 minutes. Remember, the board may not discuss or act upon any issues that are not posted on our agenda. In addition, the board has adopted policies to provide prompt and equitable resolutions of complaints and concerns for employees, students, or their parents, and the general public. Copies of the district policies and procedures on public comment and filing complaints are available at www.fisd.us. At this time, Ms. Robin McNeil, you can take the floor, and you have 2 minutes. And Ms. Peachy, can you help us keep track of the time?
Good evening to Dr. Gilstrap and to the board. My name is Robin Ann McNeil. I'm a parent of a sophomore golf player. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about today is those words behind you: character, knowledge, and confidence. They stand out proudly in every room, every campus, digital space. It is about Floresville, and I'm proud of that. Today, though, I come before you asking the board to review the disparity between the school's athletic, sports, and extracurricular, if I can say the word today, activities. Specifically a sport which is played year-round in South Texas. Guess which one that would be? Golf. Golf provides our students the opportunity to build that character, the knowledge and confidence, not just for today, but into their future on all 18 holes around the world at any golf course. Historically, I have observed with passion from the sidelines that our district and our athletic booster club does not fund very little, if anything, to our golf team. Specifically, our programs that give them an opportunity to learn and grow what golf is all about for that character, knowledge, and confidence. Currently, students that are interested in learning how to play golf at our high school must either catch a ride, hopefully have a parent like myself that has a vehicle that can bring 6 kids to the course Monday through Thursday, or catch a bus with their clubs in tow. If you've not carried your clubs in tow, it's not fun, ladies and gentlemen. It's a struggle, and it's a missed opportunity by you, each of you, in our athletic department to not make a difference for these kids. Last year, we had 13 males and only 3 females play. And many of you know this is an opportunity that not only mentally challenges you, but physically. We have a golf course 5 minutes away and no bus taking those kids, while Livonia brings their kids over and other school districts are very active with their children. It's shameful and it's got to be looked at. I just ask you as a parent to take some time to look at what you can do going forward for your students to get more involved in the golf program. It is disparate right now, and you may have the next Tiger Woods or Carrie Webb, billionaires, golf players out there in our own school district, but they've never had a chance to learn how to play. Please take a moment. Instead of buying brand new tennis shoes and uniforms and equipment for other school activities, look at what you have just 5 minutes away from your school district. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you for the comment, Ms. McNeil, and we will take that under advisement, so thank you. Next public comment, can Mr. Robert DeGamble please step up? Ms. Petrie, if you could again help me with the comments, thank you.
I'll be brief. I'm really just interested in hoping to urge the district to release the results of the community survey about the 4-day week to the public in an accessible and understandable format, hopefully both in English and Spanish on your media outlets, so that everybody has the opportunity to see what community thought about or what the feedback was from the community. So, appreciate it.
Thank you for your comment, Mr. Gilmore. We'll continue with our reports and updates. Dr. Gilstrap will now give the Facilities Task Force report, please.
Yes, board members, if I could have Mr. Brooks, Ms. Terry, Mr. Vaughn, and Mr. Sledge, if y'all could come on up and just wait right over here. I want to go through a few slides and some background, and then we'll get started with the rest of it. So board members, as you know, we have been going through a facilities task force meetings in the past semester, in the fall semester, throughout the fall. But I want to kind of walk us through where we got to, how we got to this point, because it's been more than just this fall. So where we got here, we started this in 22, right after I came on board. We started with the Strategic Plan 2.0. We did that process with Mo Casey. And that was really a lengthy process involving community members, the board, multiple surveys with staff and meetings with them. And we developed our Strategic Plan 2.0. And really it identified those 4 goals that we all know and read at every meeting. Particularly goal number 4 under Strategic Resource Management. That's really where we focused in on more than just funding and budgets. It's also facilities and things like that. So that's kind of where we got to. We moved into a long-range planning process with Blue Jean Consulting. They worked with us in 2023. We had multiple meetings there as well, involving our community members, as well as some staff members, and they kind of went through that long-range planning process and identified a few things that we felt like we needed to do. And one of the things that we did as a result of that was open up this campus. This campus opening kind of relieved some of the pressure immediately from our elementary campuses, and so that was one of the recommendations that came out of that. So we've been moving along throughout this process since 2022. As we come into 2024, this past semester we did 23-24 was our strategic facilities planning. We had Region 13 and Sledge Engineering came in, did multiple meetings, and we were able to adopt that. The board unanimously approved our strategic facilities plan in April of 2024. So that really set the foundation. Here's where we're going. Here's the direction we're going. The board adopted that, and we knew how we were going to go. So the next thing we wanted to try to do was really start to prioritize within that strategic plan. What do we need to do? What are the priority projects that we need to focus on? And so we formed this facilities task force in the summer of 2024, and we had 4 different meetings throughout the fall semester. But I want to kind of go over the purpose. So the purpose of the task force was to review and analyze the master facility plan, identify priorities within it, and make recommendations to the board on how to best implement the plan. So that's what they're here tonight to do, is kind of a culmination of the task force meetings that we had. In those 4 meetings, we did have some attendees. We got those listed over there, a number of those. We had 37 at the first one, 21, 22, and then 19 at our 4th meeting. Anybody out here in the audience that was also a part of that process, please, yes, raise your hand. It was not a lot of heavy lifting. It wasn't easy. There was some, we didn't have any arguments. There weren't any, we didn't come to blows. But there was a lot of great conversation about priorities, because that's what this comes down to. You as a board, whenever we were doing our previous information, it was in a board workshop, and I've never heard it, been in education a long time, been in administration or superintendency a while. And if you recall, Lloyd Graham, he said, or he indicated, you can do anything you want to, but you can't do everything. So you gotta have priorities. And that's where this really came down to, and this group did a lot of heavy lifting and hard work to try to identify those priorities. And that's what they're here to present this evening. So I want to turn it over to Marissa Terry and Mr. Andrew Brooks. They're going to give a little presentation on what their priorities they came up with from our task force. So I'm going to turn it over to y'all.
Awesome. Howdy board, good evening. President Shadrock, Dr. Gilstrap. What perfect time to actually have this meeting when we just heard from athletics, CTE program, band, all that, and then some needs to be addressed. And as you said, we can't do it all, but we got to be strategic, and there's a big job ahead. Because one thing we did identify is we're behind the 8 ball a little bit. So on that 12-12 meeting, you'll know there's a little bowl there with some straws, so Miss Terry and I got the short one. I say that very tongue-in-cheek, because one thing I didn't do in the notes was recognize the committee, the faculty, and the parents that are here tonight. I want to give them a round of applause, because it's just a good it was heated, but it was passionate. And there was very passionate and very pointed discussion, and it was all about making our community better for our kids, our staff, our faculty, and our admin. And so without further ado, here's what we came up with. I'm going to talk about the first point. Ms. Terry is going to talk about the second. These really floated to the top, and you'll hear why. Then we'll close out with 3 through 6 in closing. So, boy, after extensive collaboration and thorough review of district needs, the Floresville ISD Facilities Task Force has developed a set of prioritized recommendations aimed at addressing critical infrastructure, safety, and security needs for our school. These recommendations stem directly from the Strategic Facility Plan, that SFP, adopted by the board, and reflect the input gathered over the course of those 4 task force meetings that Dr. Gilstrap described. So in our first key finding and recommendation, we want to talk about district-wide safety, security, technology, and maintenance projects. The committee felt the district should prioritize the safety and well-being of students, staff, and visitors. Further, the committee recognized that technology is paramount to adequate safety, security, and efficiency at all campuses. The committee also recognized that maintenance needs will be ever present, regardless of other projects, and must be prioritized. Therefore, the committee suggests taking the projects identified in the SFP related to safety, security, technology, and maintenance for all campuses and combining those into a single top priority project. So taking everything that y'all had with safety, security, maintenance, and putting that into one. The committee also added an enclosed vestibule at the middle school to this project list. We felt that could fall in safety. We discussed that at length with Mr. Sledge. And the combined project scope will include guard stations at key locations, perimeter fencing enhancements, a new walk bridge at Floresville Middle School, upgrades to Floresville High School entrance,
Floresville Middle School enclosed vestibule connecting buildings, security camera system upgrades, and modernized fire alarms. Enhanced safety communication systems, new PA and bell systems, critical HVAC and infrastructure updates, roofing replacements, and improvements. By addressing these items collectively, the district ensures a comprehensive and effective approach to maintaining a safe, secure, comfortable, and functional learning environment for all our students. So that was our number one, what we felt floated to the top. Number two, you'll hear is very key as well, and it's my pleasure. I want to introduce Ms. Terry to talk about our second priority. They're all yours.
So I arrived at meeting number one having read the 91-page document that Mr. Sledge created. So number two is kind of my baby. I am all about the safety, technology, all that. Number two was my big speaking point after having read all that document because of the population issues at the school and the cost to not do it. So to get the numbers right, I will now read from my paper. But good evening, board and community members. Mr. Brooks outlined the top priorities of the facility task force, wishes to recommend to the board emphasizing the importance of safety, security, and well-maintained learning environment for the kids. The second key recommendation is the construction of the new intermediate school, which warrants a detailed explanation due to significance. The addition of an intermediate school is vital to alleviate student population pressures, currently impacting South Elementary at 99% optimal capacity, North Elementary at 87%, and the middle school at 93%. Optimal capacity is 22 students per classroom at the elementary level and 25 students per classroom at the middle school level. The master facility plan was adopted in April 2024, and the campuses have been rapidly approaching optimal capacity consistent with the district growth enrollment since then. Continuing to accommodate growth at existing facilities is costly and insufficient as a solution. According to the master facility plan, addressing growth at the current campuses would cost $5 million at North. It would cost $5.7 million at South and $4.71 million at the middle school, totaling $15.41 million to not build an intermediate school. Building an intermediate school presents a more effective and long-term investment for the district, saving millions and enhancing the educational environment for students and staff alike. Phase one of this project would include a 120,000 square foot facility featuring core spaces such as cafeteria and kitchen, designed to transition into a future middle school as needed. However, phase one does not include a full-size competition gym. This phased approach allows the district to address current overcrowding at the elementary level by shifting grades to the new intermediate school, ensuring flexibility to accommodate students and staff as needed. This project supports the district's long-term commitment to providing adequate modern facilities and positioning Floresville ISD for continued growth. Investing in the intermediate school is not just a solution for today's challenges, it's a step towards a brighter future for our teachers, students, and community. We appreciate the school board's consideration of the facility task force's recommendations. This focused plan moves Floresville ISD closer to meeting the needs of our growing community, and we eagerly await the board's decision as we continue to invest in our future. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Ms. Terry. And I think we all agree the passion for those first two really rose to the top, as you can see in the report. And so it's not saying these others aren't as needed or justified. Those were just the top two that raised across, because if we could have everything, we would want everything. Number three that came out was the middle school weight room and CTE classroom. So this project includes the addition of 5,000 square feet for a new weight room to better accommodate the current students and enhance safety. We all know the size of that weight room there, and it's pretty bad. It'll clear overcrowding in the existing facilities, which poses a risk and limits athletic performance. Additionally, 5,000 square feet of the new CTE classrooms will be added at the middle school level. These classrooms will allow for staff to introduce CTE education earlier, which is going to better prepare those students at the high school level. Number four is that high school new CTE addition. The committee recommends a new 25,000 square foot shop to replace the existing outdated building. This will enable our CTE programs and education to flourish into the future. Hopefully we get a lot more of those state qualifiers that you just heard from earlier. Athletics maintenance projects. This project, this is number 5, will handle overdue maintenance at the high school campus. The scope includes tennis court renovations, stadium lighting improvements, stadium sound system improvements, lockers, and bleacher improvements. And then last 6 that rose to the top for us, new concession and restroom building at the baseball and softball fields. If you've been out there, it speaks for itself. This project adds a 2,500 square foot restroom and concession stand building to replace the existing building, restroom, concession buildings. They're often the primary interface for visitors and people that come to our campus. This new building will be modernized, code compliant, and functional for all spectators, and just put us in a better light for people coming to visit. So I'd just like to say in conclusion, our task force would like to thank the board and the admin for tackling these tough issues. We understand they're tough, and these are going to be tough decisions. Our task force has taken pride in being good stewards for our community, the teachers, and our students. We firmly believe and recommend the projects are essential to the success of Floresville ISD. It's also important, very important, for our community to understand that these projects are just the beginning. While the committee has identified critical priorities, we recognize we're starting from behind and fully acknowledge the significant financial impact these improvements could have on our community. Members of the committee have thoughtfully considered these challenges and understand the weight of the decisions ahead. Ultimately, it'll be up to you, the board, to determine how we move forward, balancing the needs of our teachers and students and the financial realities we face. Additionally, the success of our schools will rely on the continued support of our community, and as we work together to address future projects not included in these initial recommendations. We want to stress our community has to come together. We need these things, we want these things. Our students, teachers, faculty deserve these. And so these initial recommendations don't include things such as performing arts, other agriculture projects, other athletic projects, and other vital infrastructure improvements that are listed in that plan. So at this time, we respectfully request the board's consideration of these findings and recommendations and want you to thoughtfully consider all financing needed to move forward. Together, we can make meaningful progress in enhancing the safety, security, and educational opportunities for all the students in our districts. On behalf of all of our committee members, thank you. Any questions?
Before I'll give the board a chance to ask some questions, thank you all very much. Ms. Terry and Mr. Brooks, at that meeting, we said, okay, who wants to present? I think it took us about 6 or 7 minutes for anybody to even look up because everybody was just staring down at the table. But thank y'all very much for stepping up and representing the task force. Y'all were at meetings, y'all participated in the process, and you both represented that committee very well. And Mr. Sledge, if y'all want to slide over here, whenever I talked to Mr. Sledge, he said, if I don't even have to speak, it would be a great meeting. If they do their job. But just to kind of put a couple more things out there, this planning process is kind of what Mr. Sledge started off with, and we're in that focused plan. And so as that starts to get down to the bottom of that triangle, we get into the financial plan, which is really more of the board's discussion and board's decision as far as how do we fund the priority list. But the focus plan is what the task force was challenged to do. And so we appreciate that. And I just want to say thank you as an administrator. Your input is valuable, and our community is well represented by y'all. The other thing, and Mr. Sledge may want to speak to this, if there's any information else out there, we did have to look at some numbers because you have to look at cost. You can't have everything. We had that lengthy discussion in the meetings. Where does money come into this? Because really you want to focus on what are the projects we need. You can come up with that, and again, it's a dream list. You got to have some reality with it, and so we had to put some of these numbers out there with it. So one of my questions to the two of you is, how do you feel the conversations went to make those 2 rise to the top over the rest? And then there are other things out there besides these 6. There's the auditorium that's been heavily discussed. There's other things as well. But how did these 2 really rise to the top?
Our final meeting, we had 2 camps, right? And ultimately, we all liked this list. Every one of these items that was just discussed, none of us wanted to toss any of them out. It was okay, we see what it costs. How do we push this along? We don't want to lose anything. That's how we came up with combining technology, safety, maintenance, all those things together as the priority because they're essential. Like, you can't do without them. So it has to be number one, right? Number two then became the middle school because that comes with a big number, but so does not doing it. And not doing it doesn't bring us into the future. So that then became number two. As far as you said, the auditorium, right?
Other things besides
Yes,
these six.
there were certain things that had a big number that's honestly why they weren't prioritized with this list, because they came with a big number. So we just had to be realistic. But there were lots of back and forths with what is important, why is it important? Let's take a look at the numbers and get to a good list that seems manageable. I mean, I wanted to present you guys, we wanted to present you guys, all of us, with something that you could work with, because we do want to take those next steps forward. And we want all of our stakeholders, taxpayers, et cetera, to have the buy-in, to want to do these things as well.
100%. And then we discussed, our job was projects, but we would talk about finance. You can't look at these numbers. I will say there was a group that I was with throughout the meetings that from the very first time there was sticker shock. And when you look at the potential tax implications to do what's listed up there, that's a double tax rate. That's a hard pill to swallow. So there was discussions that's why I said, I don't want to be in your shoes. Y'all have a lot of decisions and a lot of work ahead. And us as a committee realized that. And so there's some ideas that Mr. Shadrock heard and Mr. Gilstrap heard that again, it's not for us, but we had some ideas that maybe there's some things that we could do to make these happen. And if we could get certain things, that's why those two rose to the top. What do we think that could happen that our community can really, and we wanted to stress tonight, so when the community comes back and said, hey, this isn't a board pushing this down our throat. This is the community, those almost 20 people that came to all four meetings that said, no, this is what we came up with, and we were thinking of you, the community, our students, and our faculty as we did it.
Thank you.
So if I have something to say, because that's a good point, is the community get behind this, and y'all bring that to us. We've seen this list, and some of these have been on the list for a long time, before Dr. Gilstrap was here. It's just the money, how do we go about doing this? And all of a sudden now these are rising to the top, where before we got some other stuff out of the way because we only have so much to play with. So now by y'all looking at it from y'all's end and bringing it back to us, okay, now we've talked about it. We walked these campuses, what's next? So, it's good feedback from y'all, and I know it took a lot of time for y'all to come back, but we've been looking at these lists for a long time, so it means a lot that y'all are bringing this to us now and be like, hey, this is what we need to work on next. So I think we got our work cut out for us.
Dr.
Gilstrap was telling us to look over this report and beforehand and ask questions. It was such a well-done report and well-received, and the whole thing was well done. Congratulations, guys, because it really does clear up in our minds what we really need to focus on. And the hard work that you and your committee did, just outstanding. That's all I can say, just wonderful. Thank you.
I have one question on number 5 with the bleacher improvements. Is that inside the middle school gym? Is that what that's
Number
referring
5,
to?
the athletic maintenance projects.
Casey may speak.
That's going to be the high school campus.
High school stadium.
Okay, because I was at the middle school campus this weekend, and I was surprised the number of bleachers that needed to have to be fixed or replaced. I mean, that comes from kids' damage, but I don't know.
If it's a safety concern, maybe that falls under number
Yeah,
1.
because it is, because they were out, and I have bum knees, so I had to be real careful. And I was gonna sit down, and I think it was like a V, a plastic V. So,
Definitely.
Yeah, that could be safety or maintenance. It might fall under number 1.
Okay.
And there were some middle school projects I think that were on there that didn't make the list. They're in the overall comprehensive plan.
So those things are still on
They're still on the list.
Yeah.
As
But I
Mr.
just
Sledge
was
would
just,
say.
I was asking about the bleachers, so
That
I
one
thought about
was
those.
tennis court renovations, stadium lighting improvements, stadium sound system, lockers, and bleacher improvements, but that's all high school.
The middle school walk bridge,
Yes.
Is that in the back where the ditch is?
The egress out the gates. 4 or
Okay.
5. There's just 4 of them.
4 or
Casey,
5
you remember?
bridges. Yeah, it's a handful.
Where's Mr. Riley? Is there 4?
Yeah.
4 at Mr. Riley's.
And that was for the purpose for, if
Safety
we had to evacuate.
egress,
or-
correct.
Evacuated that field.
Because the gates are there now, we got the gates put in, but now there's the ditch that we don't have no way of crossing, especially in the rain or anything like that.
And actually, that one sat in some middle school improvements, and it was the last meeting, we moved that one to safety and security.
That makes sense.
Okay, it is.
You gotta get out.
Yep.
The ditch is in the way.
We used to have to go, had to walk down and back up again to go out there.
Great
Thank you,
questions.
thank you for y'all's time and commitment to that.
Yeah, we appreciate you taking the time to kind of take so much data and try to kind of look at it, and I appreciate you saying when the South's already at 99%, stuff like that. So it's good to be able to have that confirmation that we realize our growth of our community is something that's attracting people here, so consequently our schools are growing. And so it's good to have that double confirmation that we do need to do something.
I went into that first meeting being like, I need to fight for the kids. They're getting crowded out. And optimal capacity is what we want. We do not want building capacity. We want these 25 students in a middle school, 22 in a elementary classroom. Believe me, that's plenty.
Yes.
So thank y'all for making the commitment, and thank you, all the peers that are still sitting in the crowd. We appreciate that, because it goes unsaid that thank you. That's a big investment of time.
Awesome. So I know this was actually a part of our previous processes, and we talked about doing the intermediate versus adding on. But I know adding on to those adding on to the elementaries is just going to put more volume of traffic flow for parent pickup. It's going to put more volume in the cafeteria, which are not good solutions. We already have 1,000 kids, almost 1,000 kids on each one of those campuses. And before we opened this one, we actually had over 1,000 in South. And so we've seen what that capacity looks like, and it's not good. Mr. Vaughn, Mr. Sledge, you have anything else to add?
Tough process. They did a lot of work, did good work. I'd mirror that. This process is really good. The committee did a great job. They really dove into it and took it seriously, so we're really happy to be with them.
And we're very lucky to have extra property at North.
Yeah.
So, to take on option number 2, we don't have to go out and buy land. We have it, and we got enough of it. So that's a good thing to have.
It is. That's what makes sense about going down that road of an intermediate school and phase 2 of converting it to a middle school in the future. It's not throwing good money after bad, because you don't want to build an elementary school next to North. So that didn't make any sense. But you can open up an intermediate campus for now and then convert it later on to a middle school with some I'm going to call it minor renovations. An engineer, an architect may not say it's minor, but phase 2, it could be converted into a middle school with the addition of a larger band hall, as well as a larger gym for competition, and some locker room space. So for an addition, we could convert that later on to a middle school, which would make sense.
And those extra additions would be exterior from the existing building, so you're not having to remodel an existing building. Those would be correct.
We've got
correct.
I don't want to speak for an architect that would design it, but as long as I'm sitting in this chair, it would be designed with a pencil of this is what it's going to look like whenever you add on. Exactly. So we would make sure that a certain hallway, a certain angle, there's property. We wouldn't go put a septic system out there where we're going to put the gym somewhere.
Lay it out for the future, but build it now smaller.
Build it
future,
now.
It'll play into itself, just like transportation and having buses. It would just make sense for the future.
So that really comes down to the design phase, which would be later on after we decide funding.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Awesome.
Thank y'all again.
Thank you so much for your report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will now have the superintendent report by Dr. Gilstrap.
Yes, board members, we completed, prior to the Christmas break, we completed the signed crosstown agreement with Laverne ISD to allow their high school students to participate in our ROTC program. If you recall previously, our numbers in ROTC were dipping below the required 100 number in the program, and so Livonia has been wanting to start a program, and they just hadn't had the interest and hadn't had the ability to get it going. So we researched and were able to execute a crosstown agreement to have them come over here. Any type of transportation would be provided from Livonia ISD, so we won't have to worry about any of that. This will be a win-win for both districts and both campuses, and will be limited to 25 students, so that'll be their cap as far as number of students that can participate. There will be a cost associated with it from Livonia ISD at $900 per student, and we'll be responsible for providing all the transportation. Also, the Air Force will provide additional funding per student. We do get some additional funding from them to offset the salaries of our 2 instructors, as well as uniform costs and things like that. So we're looking to begin this with the 25-26 school year, but wanted to keep you informed about the crosstown agreement with Livonia. The 89th Texas Legislative Session is set to begin on January the 14th. That's a week from today, with several items on the state's agenda that will directly and or indirectly affect Floresville ISD and public education in Texas. It's important for us to be directly involved and advocate for our students and for public education, and we want to make sure that we're doing what we can to make the greatest impact on our ability to meet our goals here in the district. Our greatest need is funding, and specifically in the areas of special education and security. Those are 2 key areas that are really lacking. The legislative the legislative priorities included in the board packet focus on the district's needs, not necessarily on items that we don't want. So you'll find in there making this recommendation for a legislative priorities to be approved. There's nothing in there about don't do vouchers, don't do that. It's all about focusing on what we need, and right now it's really heavily focused on funding. A sample resolution has been included for your review. If there are no questions, we'll consider it for approval in February at the regular meeting. So again, I think it's important for us to advocate for our district and for public education, and so we are making a recommendation for priorities to be approved next month. I know we just got through listening to our task force committee that gave their report tonight. We're scheduling a board workshop on Tuesday, January the 14th at 5:30 to discuss the facilities task force recommendations in more detail. Sledge Engineering, who just walked out, as well as Samco, who's here this evening as well. They will be present to provide additional information in regards to options and what we can do. No action will be taking place at that workshop. It is for information only, so the board can discuss what the details may be in moving forward. Our annual Team of 8 training is tentatively scheduled for Monday, February the 24th, so that's about 6 weeks away. So please mark it on your calendar at 5:30. Region 20 has agreed to provide the training. Please confirm with me or Alyssa that you are available on that day. We need to lock that in with them, and all 8 of us must be present in order for it to count as a Team of 8 training. Just a reminder, this is annually required, and all board members must be present for it to count. Included in the superintendent's update, we have our weekly enrollment numbers, our overall numbers, as well as attendance. Overall, the district is at 4,066 in enrollment. That was the Friday at the end of the fall semester. Throughout the fall semester, year to date, our attendance rate was 93.98%. So we did dip below the 94%, which is our goal. Expect that to go back up, but I'll be honest, throughout the spring semester, it tends to dip back down. We did build our budget on 92%, so we're still running above what we built our budget on, as well as above where we built our enrollment on. So we're doing well versus what we budgeted for this year. You can see in the 2 graphs included about enrollment and where we're kind of mirroring. We are above where we've been the past couple of years, so that's a good thing. We also haven't seen that decline like we usually do. We're starting to see that level off, which is a sign of potential growth that's coming, and we've been talking about that for a number of years. And then also the attendance rate is running above where we were last year, thanks to our administrators and what they've been doing on campuses. Lastly, we do have, and I didn't put this into the printed copy because I didn't know the weather was going to be like this, but just to make sure the board and the community knows, We do have some cold weather rolling in, so it's not a surprise. I forget who it was that said earlier it was a surprise to them whenever they got up this morning. We do have some cold weather coming in, potential precip coming in with it on Thursday morning, Wednesday night, Thursday morning. We are prepared. Mr. Gonzalez and his crew in the maintenance department, they've got the heaters and the boilers working, so we'll be prepared. However, it's just like any other mechanical system. If it's going to break, it's probably going to break that morning. But we are aware it's coming. Also, transportation, they've got all the buses ready to go. Heaters are working. We'll be out and about early that morning checking roads, as well as making sure all of our buses are warmed up and ready to go should we decide to do anything else and not have school. But just wanted to make sure you and the community knows that we are aware of the cold spell that's coming, and we're taking precautions and we're ready for it.
Thank you, Dr. Gilstrap. Next on the agenda is item number 5. First action item is the consent agenda. Oh, my bad, excuse me. Our last report will be the calendar development update from Dr. Wade. Sorry about that, Dr. Wade.
All right, good evening, President Shadrach, Dr. Gilstrap, board members. Tonight, I'm going to provide you an update on our calendar development process. Can you hear me okay? I've done 4 presentations today with training, so my voice is just a little hoarse. I apologize. But you guys can hear me okay, right? Okay, good deal. All right, so before I get started, just a reminder to all of us that FISD's vision, mission, and core beliefs guide our decision-making in all the decisions that we make so that we accomplish those goals of excellent student outcomes, superior workplace environment, exceptional customer service and community engagement, and strategic resource management. So I reported to the board in November. Is this January? Yes. In November, and since then we've had a couple of developments or activities. So we had our first community meeting on December the 5th, and we launched a calendar survey from December 9th to the 19th. In addition, I conducted meetings with every campus and department in the district before the winter break to provide information about our calendar development process and to answer any questions from staff. And finally, a frequently asked questions document was released before the break about a possible 4-day calendar that was released on December 16th. And you have a copy of this presentation and that 4-day week FAQ in your board packet. So the community meeting was held on December 5th. We had 52 attendees, 8 staff members that had signed up. There may have been some in the room that didn't sign up. Participants were asked to, if they wanted to speak, to sign up in advance. And so after a brief presentation, we did have 10 stakeholders that made comments. And then at the end of the meeting, I had 11 people hand me cards where they had written comments. So those comments have been reviewed, as well as the comments on the calendar survey. The frequently asked questions document that was released includes responses to 17 questions, and I'm going to review most of those questions with you this evening. One of the questions that has been raised quite frequently is, why are we looking at doing this? Well, and the main reason is we are trying to provide the best teachers for our students. And so this is something that bubbled up. If a teacher has the greatest impact, and I've shared with you some of the struggles we've had in finding teachers. If there's something we can do to attract more teachers, better quality teachers, that's what we want to do. So the first question on the FAQ is about why. So I talked about that. That's provide quality instruction for our students to attract quality teachers and staff. Another question was about the length of the school day. So the proposed 4-day calendar could have about 490 minutes, a 4-day hybrid 465 minutes, and a traditional calendar between 460 and 465. And I'm going to talk a little bit about specifics with some campuses with those minutes here in just a second. If we were to modify the school calendar, our proposal would be to not have school on Fridays. That was a question people wanted to know. Which day are you looking at? Most schools who have gone to a 4-day week have chosen Friday as the day not to have school. And it makes sense since our need for substitutes is 5% greater on Fridays than any other day. Some questions were also raised about holidays, because one of the questions said, what would you be willing to sacrifice in order to have this? And people said, well, what holidays are we not going to get? We still plan to have Labor Day, a week at Thanksgiving, 2 weeks at Christmas, and a week of spring break. Those won't go away. Extracurricular activities, there was a lot of questions about that. Friday activities for extracurricular would still occur. We would still have Friday night football games, just like we do now. Another question was about instruction time. How many minutes are we giving up? So a proposed 4-day calendar would have about 75,950 minutes, a hybrid 75,795, and that's compared to a traditional 5-day with 76,890 minutes. So that's about between 940 and 1,000 something minutes difference, which equates to about 2 days. It's about 2 days difference. Some questions for staff have centered around pay and work schedules. So there would be no reduction in annual pay for any staff member. Another question was about conference periods for teachers. So if you recall, last year we implemented 2 conference periods for teachers. We would not be able to have that in a 4-day or a hybrid. However, teachers would have an extra day a month. We would have one of those Fridays they could come back for planning and professional learning time. Another question was about hours when we work. So while the annual pay may not change, work schedules may be adjusted so to accommodate what's needed for the district. So those are some of the most common questions. I'm going to transition now to give you a report about the calendar survey that was launched December the 9th. That survey was emailed to all parents and staff members. And a Spanish survey was actually emailed specifically to our parents who requested Spanish, and it was posted on our district social media platforms, and it was shared in the Wilson County News if you didn't catch that. A separate survey was also shared with the high school students because we wanted some student input as well. So I just want to talk about my data validation process. There were 11 responses on the Spanish survey. I added those to the English survey so I could give you total results. Okay, so when I show you the results, I'm not going to separate the 11 Spanish responses. They're included with the English. There were 8 student responses on that community survey, and I pulled those over and put them into the student survey. So when I show community results, it's just adults, not students. There were 6 duplicates, and I've removed the 6 duplicates. So if the end result was there were 776 staff, parents, and community that responded to the survey, and 133 high school students. I do have to put a caveat. One of the survey responses on the community survey was from a middle school student, but I just included their response with the high school and said they were freshmen. So here is an overall about who responded to the survey. It was represented by about 58% parents, about 36% staff, between staff who have children in the district and staff who do not, and about 6% of community members. There appears to be a good distribution of parents based on the demographics of our campuses. So FHS has the most students, about 1,200, and that was represented by 32% of the responses. The early childhood campus has the least. There's only 180 something students here. They're only represented by 5.7. So the 2 elementary is pretty close, and the middle school a little bit above that. So pretty good distribution representative-wise across campuses. So first question, the hot question. Would you be in favor of a 4-day or 4-day hybrid schedule if the district provided childcare on the 5th day that we were not in session? So overall, 68% said yes, about 11% said maybe, and 21% said no. So how did that compare if I break it out? Because that's all the responses. So I was able to distinguish who were parents and who were staff. So if I separate it out, the parents' only response is very similar to the overall response, but the staff response was a little different, with overwhelmingly staff almost 82% in favor, and only 8% of staff saying no. I also want to compare results to the student responses. Now, I did not ask the students, are you in favor of this if we have childcare? Because childcare really didn't mean anything to them. But I took that answer to the question for some comparison. And the high school students, 58% of the students responded with no, with only 24% saying yes. The comment question for the students, overwhelmingly, the questions were about having a longer school day and concern about extracurricular activities. So I'm going to address those in just a few minutes. Surprisingly, the greatest concern about a 4-day schedule is no concern, with 42% of all the responses and 39% of parents saying they had no concerns. Adding time to the school day and childcare and quality of instruction were the concerns for parents, ranging from about 11% to about 20%. So that same information, I couldn't put all three of these graphs on one chart, so I've got another chart for the staff. 55% of the staff had no concerns, and 21% of the staff were concerned about adding time to the school day. So those were the, we thought childcare would be the biggest concern, but that was not as big of a concern. The next question was, which calendar or schedule would you feel would be most beneficial for student learning? Although there's not a clear majority, 47% said 4 days, 12% said a hybrid, and 16% said it didn't matter. Either option works for us. 26% are in favor of keeping a 5-day schedule. The results were similar for parents, with about 30% choosing the 5-day option. And I apologize, I'm throwing lots of numbers at you, but I'm trying to, am I going too fast? Are you able to assimilate? Okay. Again, there is some difference with the staff response, with staff, 55% of them selecting the 4-day option and only 10% of staff choosing a 5-day option. When asked if people believed if a 4-day schedule would improve the student attendance, about 55% said yes, and 19% said maybe. Again, the staff response was a little different from the parents, with only 10% of staff saying it would not improve attendance. Another question was about impact on families. 58% of people believe a 4-day schedule would have a positive impact on their families, with 55% of parents responding yes and 18% maybe. Again, staff's a little different. 76% of staff said yes. Then this question, I just gave you the results for parents because that's all it really needs to apply to. When parents were asked about childcare with a 4-day schedule, 48% said no childcare would be needed. 16% said they would rely on a family or an older sibling. 9% said they would use paid childcare. 8% said they would alter their work schedule. 19% said they do a combination of all of those things. So some of them said I'd do paid and family, so I just lumped them all together. We're going to do a hodgepodge. The next question was about transportation. 56% of parents who responded to the survey have children who do not ride the bus. So in other words, 44% of the respondents have someone that rides a bus. Another question was about extracurricular. Overwhelmingly, 63% of the parents that responded have a student involved in extracurricular activities.
Is there a clarification on, is that school extracurricular? Because that could be an elementary kid who's in dance or something.
Yeah, it did not.
Did not clarify.
I just said extracurricular. And I could disaggregate it, by high school or elementary, and it could be they got one in both levels, right? The other question was about economic disadvantage. 69% of the parents responding do not qualify for free or reduced lunch. So in other words, about 31% of respondents do qualify for free or reduced lunch. Okay, that's the numbers. I'm gonna take a breath. So, as I read through the comments, just wanted to respond to some of the themes that I heard. One was about the child care, and I previously shared this information, but it was asked, who's the child care going to be for? And when in the FAQ, we identified that it's for pre-K through 5th grade. Those are the kids that typically need somebody to stay home with them. Another question was about, what are you doing with the money you're saving? Well, as I shared before, the savings is estimated to be as low as 0.5% to a high of 2%. So I just said, if you assumed a 1% saving, just somewhere in the middle, that would equate to about $380,000. So for comparison, the child care costs, which the district has stated that we would intend to supplement as much as possible, would cost about per student per day over the Fridays. Right, we're not talking about every day, just on the Fridays. Okay. Another question that came up was, what are you doing with all this extra money you're getting with the increase in enrollment? So I just did a comparison. So while we have had some increase, we decreased during COVID. You see that little dip there to 3992. The district has remained relatively constant with our enrollment around 4,000 students. We did have an increase last year of about 40 students to 4080, but we're actually declined about 15 students to 4066 currently. Another question that came up was, well, you can't compare yourself to other districts because we have got a big economically disadvantaged population. We have about, currently 55% of our students are identified as economically disadvantaged. Last year that was 62%. It's really dependent on students completing that free reduced lunch package for the most part. So I shared this map previously about the districts that went to a 4-day week this year in orange, and those are a hybrid in blue. And I don't know if it showed up as much, but the hybrid of the 20 hybrid schools, 90% of those districts have economically disadvantaged students of above 50%. Does that make sense? So 90% of them are economically disadvantaged populations above 50%. And 3 of those 20 districts have a student enrollment of 2,000 or more. Just trying to find where's some comparison for something similar to the size of Floresville. Of the pure 4-day schools, if you'll remember, this is about 109 districts. 85% of those districts have an enrollment of economically disadvantaged of 50% or higher. Can I get all that out? And 21 of those 109 districts have more than 2,000 students. So just as a comparison, right, to Floresville. Another question that didn't seem to be real clear is about transportation. Parents were like, they're going to be on the bus longer. Well, they won't be on the bus longer. The bus route is anticipated to be the same. So if the student's on the bus for 30 minutes at the end of the day, we anticipate they would be on the bus for 30 minutes. There was a lot of confusion, it appeared, or misunderstanding about the impact on the high school. And I think it's because of the fact that they recently announced they're going to go away from the 5x5 to an 8-period day. So moving to an 8-period day means there's need for less minutes in the day. I'm going to show an example of that in just a second. In addition, just like the high school did before we went to a 5x5 schedule, CTE practicum classes where there's field-based experience. So when they go to the hospital for the health science, or when they go to another campus for the education training pathway, those classes are what we call double blocked. So the kids take them for 2 periods to allow them time for transportation. So we did that before we went to 5x5, and we will return to doing that in the regular 8-period day as well. And again, comments about the extracurricular, they will continue to have games and events on Fridays. So here's the example, and I want to make sure I'm clear about this, about the impact of the minutes. So the current high school schedule goes from 8:25 to 4:30. That's a 485-minute day. Do you see that? Right there, 485. All right, so as an example, if we were not going to a 4-day week, if we're just going to keep a 5-day schedule, what would the minutes look like at the high school? We would go down to about 465, which is a decrease of 20 minutes. So all things being the same, next year, the high school minutes would decrease by 20 minutes a day, okay? If we were going to go to a 4-day, however, then the minutes would have to go up by 5 to 490, okay? So there was some concern about that. So I just want to make it clear about the high school because I think the 5x5 schedule kind of got mixed up with some of that. For comparison, I just did a comparison for the elementary. They currently are at a 460-minute day. That would be proposed for next year if we're in a regular 5-day week. But if they went to a 4-day week, there would be an increase anticipated of about 30 minutes.
And that's the 4-day week.
That's the 4-day, it's not the hybrid.
Not the hybrid?
That's not the hybrid. I just did a compare, like that would be the most, would be 30 minutes for the elementary. I pulled this up also. I shared this sample when I reported in November about the comparison with the calendars. But one of the questions that came up for staff was teacher days, because I've never talked about how many days. So a teacher contract currently is 187 days. But if we had a 4-day week, that would go down to 170, maybe 173 on a hybrid, pending the passing of a district of innovation for teacher days. So that was a question for teachers. How many days are we talking about? So want to make sure you have that. So that's the results of the survey, some of the questions that came up, trying to address some of that. So to narrow down the calendar options, the district is going to ask you, the school board, to provide us with some parameters next year at next month's board meeting. So some of the parameters that we're going to ask for are the minimum and maximum minutes annually that we need to look at per day, the minimum number of student days, the minimum number of teacher days, and the earliest start date and the latest end date for the calendar development. So once we get your marching orders in February, we'll be working on calendars already, like we're going to work on that. But then we would propose in the March meeting for the board to adopt an actual calendar. So here's where we are. Here's what's coming next. On Thursday, I get to do this all again at the community meeting. So I'll be sharing this same information with the community, giving them also a chance to provide input. The calendar committee is scheduled to meet on the 14th, and our district education committee meeting is January the 21st. And as I said, we will be working kind of behind the scenes, drafting many calendar options based on what the board ends up telling us. And then in February, we'll seek guidance about those parameters. So that is the report. I'll be happy to answer any questions if I can.
You unfreeze that, Alyssa, and go back. Can you unfreeze it?
She's having to pull it back
Oh,
up.
okay.
Where you want to go?
Go back to the slide that had the various campuses on the spreadsheet with the hours.
Hold on a second. Okay.
She's still pulling it up?
Yeah, she's just putting those.
Yes,
There we go.
Well,
This one or the previous one?
go to that one right there. So I think some of the, a lot of questions were about, especially in the survey, would you be willing to, what would you be willing to add minutes to the day to do this? And I think some of the high school, because I talked to some high school parents and the high school students, and they were thinking, because they're hearing 30 minutes, well, they're going to add 30 minutes to the day. The high school already doing 485. They were thinking, oh my God, 30 minutes added on 485. I think that was one of the things they were thinking of, and that would be more applicable to the elementaries if we were going to add that many minutes to the day. Obviously, concerns for length of the day was a big question, and if you'll go to that next slide, to where that hybrid option gives you, fewer. You are going to go up in minutes, but it's not extreme. It's not going to be something that's totally extreme. And also on the sample hybrid, it listed August, September, January, February, and April. And of course, I'm like, April, okay, well, some districts did that, some districts didn't. And of course, if you did, then that could affect your minutes. These are not exact. These are examples.
Samples. Right there.
Samples.
Yeah.
But there are options that are out there.
Do you feel that hybrid was a little hard for the person taking the survey to really understand what that hybrid looked like?
Yeah.
You talked about a couple months we go 5 days, and then we revert to a 4-day for a period of time, and then we revert back to a 5.
Most of the comments I got about the hybrid and that people told me is that they were concerned it's going to be confusing. That we got this schedule and then we have this schedule. Dr. Gilstrap and I talked about that. Well, right now I have 14 4-day weeks randomly, sometimes randomly.
Yeah, I feel like we're kind of on a hybrid.
Right.
Almost, when you look at our schedule.
Yeah.
Well, in fact, if you go back a slide, right now we've got 14, was it on that slide?
I don't know which which slide you?
There was another slide where you had the number of Fridays.
Oh, yeah, that's on the childcare question. Oh, no. I didn't put that in. So,
I want to say it was like 26.
26 Fridays in the hybrid sample and 38 Fridays in the.
So if we're already at 14,
we're almost there.
Yeah.
When you start looking at time, you're asking for the 4 days, you're looking at 2 hours versus a whole nother day on a Friday. And it'd be more consistent for a parent to schedule sitting on a 4-day versus the hybrid and trying to keep up with it.
What do we all?
Yeah.
Because that's where we're at right now, just not as many.
Yeah.
It's where our schedule is now.
And I know that was one of the questions that did come up was about, it's not like we're going to get up on Friday or get up on Monday morning and flip a coin, are we going 4 days or 5 days? It would be set, our calendar would be done, so you can prearrange those things. But the main focus in this is about the quality of instruction in the classroom. That's, several times I get questions and I get caught up even in conversations about this, that, the details, the child care, the transportation, and then go back. The premise is not just to take off every Friday. The premise is to, what can we do without or within our budget to try to make the biggest impact on instruction in our classrooms for our kids? Now, if I could give everybody a $10,000 raise, we might not be talking about this, but I don't have the capacity in our budget to be able to do that. We've already come up with other things that were budget neutral. We brought up sick bank. We've brought up other benefits to our employees that they very much appreciated, the second conference period, with minimal impact on the budget. And we're running out of those kind of options, and we've got to be creative in how we do that to try to
keep
provide
good
the best instruction we can in the classroom.
So Dr. Wade, you said right now we have 14 Fridays, the way our schedule works now?
Well, there's
14 4-day weeks.
There's
14
14
4-day week, 14
and I
4-day
say
week.
they're actually not 5-day weeks. So like this week, we go Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It's a 3-day.
Short.
There's 14 short weeks
And
during
the hybrid, we'd have about 26.
26. That's an example around that
And
number.
a straight 4-day would be
38.
38. Yeah. That's the hybrid. We're kind of on that path already, so. But we're not there yet. But calling it the 4-day, whether it's a hybrid or not, it's calling it that and, expanding. For the teacher retention, it's a big thing.
In conversations last year or year before, whenever Lavergne was going through the process, my statement was, we're already halfway there. We're just not all the way there. Because we do have, in our staff, by the way, the calendar we had last year mirrors the calendar we have this year. And if we were to keep it going in the staff has responded positively to the breaks that we have. They like having them sprinkled in, versus what we used to have where it was really lengthy time with no break. So our staff has responded well to our current calendar.
And that's why we provided those short weeks, is so staff had a day either to plan, right, because they value the planning time, or to have a mental health day.
Just that day off. That's, previously we didn't have those 2 days around Peanut Festival. Well, now we had Friday off and Monday was a PD day. So that was 2 short weeks right there back to back. We had a Friday and a Monday. Granted, our staff had to come in for one of those, but the staff has responded positively to the calendar we had last year and this year, just appreciating the breaks.
And I think too, in the reports a few years ago where the staff really didn't want to go to that 4-day, and then was it last year you reported to us, overwhelming, they leaned
This past
like
fall.
the pendulum completely swung.
Yeah,
toward the
50%,
4-day,
yes.
which was overwhelming for us to hear.
Yeah.
Because I thought we were the other way, but now they're seeing Lavernia's working out, or the others are working out, so.
I think you're seeing how it works out. And that's also what brought us to this point is the committee brought it up, expressed interest in it, so we explored it, we brought it to the board. The board expressed interest in it, so we're gathering input. That's what we're doing. Gathering input so that we can potentially make a recommendation later on, but right now it's just a matter of exploring options.
And traditionally, if we made a switch, let's say we went to the 4-day, traditionally you need to have a period of time before you can say we would not consider going back. So for example, when Livonia did it, they committed it to 3 years.
I believe it was 2 or 3 years. I would not want to do something, and this goes with anything, the 5x5 schedule at the high school. We did it for a number of years. It was not producing what we intended it to be, so we've got to make a good decision and shift away from it. So I would not want to do anything. I don't care if it's a curriculum or a practice on a campus, or, you know, I don't think Coach Martinez is going to all of a sudden start throwing the ball 30 times a game and do it for 1 year. If he's going to commit to it, we're going to commit to it for at least a period of time so that we can evaluate something. And that would be not only this calendar option, but with any option.
But with next year's calendar, we reevaluate it, see if it's working.
Didn't they say that the teachers were, if we don't go into the 4-day, that they were thinking about leaving the district? Is that what, that came up, yes?
There were some comments about
Oh,
that.
comments.
That was not an overwhelming comment, but that has been a comment from some individual people.
Okay, I just remembered, okay, thank you. That's really,
I wouldn't say that's a trend I saw, but there were some comments to that effect.
okay, thank you.
All right, any other comments?
So you need some input from us.
Not right now.
Okay.
We'll share some more information with you before the February meeting, but at the February meeting, we're going to ask for you to
You can
give
go
us.
back to that slide that
Yes,
has the
I will.
quadrants on it. There you go.
I'd like to have,
So those are the 4 things we would like to have some guidance on. Give us some parameters, and maybe those parameters fit into a 5-day calendar. In other words, teachers are going to work 187, students are going to go 171 days, then that means it's going to be a 5-day calendar.
I'll be sending some information to the board, just.
But if y'all come up with, hey, here's some parameters, we don't want to start early, you know, in August, we don't want to go past Memorial Day. We want to make sure teachers, instead of working 187, teachers work no more than 175. Students go this, so coming up with those kind of parameters for us to build a calendar within will give us some direction.
And you won't have to start from scratch. I'm going to give you some guidance about what each of those options might look like. All right.
On those, when you're looking at the daily time, the minimum requirement by the state is what,
75,600.
600. So are you looking to try to bank any minutes, or
So if we were in a 4-day or a hybrid, if we needed extra days, the bank would be one of those Fridays. So we would say, oh, we fell under, so we're going to have to come to school
so
on
we're not
Friday.
collecting it? Would be
No.
it's not, it's like a bad weather makeup day, but you're going to have to come in.
So currently, we have 2 bad weather days built into the calendar, and we haven't had to use them. Because we have so many bank minutes, we haven't had to really use them. In this case, you'd have to use them.
Yeah.
Whatever you identify on that calendar is bad weather days.
That's a good
And that
point.
doesn't matter if, hey, you know what, they had a water main break and we had to shut down South Elementary and the middle school at noon one day. That means those minutes that we lost that afternoon are gonna have to be made up if they go under that 75,600. So in that hybrid, and that's an example, 75,795, well, you only got 195 minutes to play with.
Yeah.
Well, 2 hours early is 120 minutes. So if you dismiss school for 2 hours, let's say Thursday is a bad weather day and we start school 2 hours late, you'd be cutting into it. So you're really cutting it close on your minutes.
And traditionally, we do try to bank some minutes, so we don't have to use bad weather makeup day, but that's not a real option with a 4-day or a hybrid.
Because anytime you have to use those identified bad weather days, your attendance is not real good. No. Parents have already looked at that calendar and said, oh, we're taking a trip or we're doing something else on this day because it's a bad weather day, y'all aren't gonna have school. Well, all of a sudden, you have to have school and attendance goes out.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you so much for your time.
Next on the agenda is item number 5, action items. Is a consent agenda by Dr. Gilstrap.
Board members, typical consent agendas provided this month, including our financial reports and statements. If there's no questions, administration recommends the board approve the consent agenda as presented.
Mr. President, I move to accept administration recommendation.
I second.
We have a motion by Jason Sabota and second by Bonner Reed for Dr. Gilstrap's recommendation on the consent agenda. All in favor, raise your hand. All in favor.
Need to have
7-0. State of the outcome was 7-0. Thank you, sir. We will now consider approval of an order by the Board of Trustees for the Floresville Independent School District authorizing the issuance of Floresville Independent School District Unlimited Tax Refunding Bonds, Series 2024.
You don't have to read anymore. That's a lengthy thing. You've read enough to know what we're talking. We're talking about a refunding opportunity. It's a lengthy agenda item, so I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Engel.
Good evening, President Shadrach, Dr. Gilstrap, and board members. This evening I have representatives from SAMCO here with me, Mr. Cunningham and Mr. McLeany. The district would like for the board to authorize administration to proceed with the refunding of $8.34 million worth of 2015 bonds. This refunding could potentially save the district approximately $550,000 over the life of the bonds. This refunding does not extend the debt schedule, it only reduces the interest paid on the bonds, resulting in the aforementioned savings. This authorization would allow the superintendent and the director of finance to approve the sale of the bonds as long as there is at least a 5% present value savings recognized. You have a draft in your board packet, but I'm going to let Mr. Cunningham.
Thank you very much. So last year we did the same thing on the Series 2014 bonds that the district had outstanding. The market rates that you paid in 2014 were higher than what the current market was in January last year, so we were able to refinance them at a lower rate to achieve debt service savings. So the 2015 bonds become callable February 1, 2025, which means we can take them away from the investor if market rates are lower than what you're currently paying on them. So when we first identified this in the summer for the savings, interest rates were lower. Now, since that time and now, even though the Fed cut its overnight rates, we've seen rates go up in the municipal bond market as well as the 10-year treasury. And just to kind of highlight how rates have moved northward, it was 3.99 August 1, then 4.37 November 1st, and then today it's 4.62%. So on current market conditions, we're not able to refinance this, but we wanted to get this ahead of you so if market conditions become favorable, we can go ahead and move forward with that savings if we can achieve that 5% savings. If we can't achieve that, it'll go stale after 6 months and we would come back here and seek approval again. So what we're looking to do is refinance the 2015 at a lower interest rate than you're currently paying to achieve debt service savings. So we're just looking for guidance to go forward. And like I said, we're pretty far from being able to do that right now. And so we're optimistic that rates will come down, but if nothing moves in the market downward, then this would just go stale and we would just leave it be. And it could come back in 9 months or 10 months as market rates improve, but we just wanted to get in front of this.
So it's a parameter sale?
Yes.
5% savings?
5% savings, and then we also have a minimum threshold of if we couldn't achieve 480,000 or 410,000. Really 5% net present value savings is really sort of where the market is, that it's worth pursuing the refinancing. So if we can't achieve that, we won't go forward.
This parameter sale would be authorization for 6 months to execute. Don't meet those parameters within 6 months.
It's gone. It's off the table. We'd come back again seeking approval for another order if rates had improved.
Okay.
Are there any questions? If there are not, administration recommends the board approve the authorization of the administration to refund the 2015 bonds as presented if all parameters are met.
I move to accept the administration's recommendation.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Craig Mutz and second by Marshall Fleer. Any questions? All in favor, please raise your hand. Passes 7-0.
Thank you.
We will now consider approval of personnel by Dr. Gilstrap.
Board members, we do have 3 contract recommendations to make. We had 3 openings that we were very fortunate to identify some certified teachers to come on board at Christmas to finish out the year. At the high school, we have Nicole Sullivan and Enrique Trevino, and in special ed, redirect teacher at North Elementary, Jennifer Solis. These are really fortunate, again, to get these certified people on board at Christmas break. Very fortunate. So if there's no questions, administration recommends the board approve the teacher contracts as presented.
Mr. President, I move to accept the administration recommendation.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made by Jason Sabota and seconded by Craig Mutz. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Passes 7-0. We have now concluded our agenda for this meeting. Is there any further business? If there's none, we'll adjourn the meeting at 8:30.